Best intro ever. What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast, one that's going to be epic and we've been waiting for such a long time. My name is Steady. With me on this episode is the man behind the magic. You know him as Joe Garcia.
What's up, everybody? Excited for talking, Spider-Man, the Spider-Man No Way Home review with Ted and our guest, Eliud. But also, I'm excited because Christmas is just around the corner. So, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays
Hey,
to everybody out there.
happy holidays. Merry Christmas,
Happy
everybody.
holidays.
And he is the biggest Spider-Man fan I know. I say that because he's on the show and nobody else who's a Spider-Man fan or claims to be is. He's Eliud. What's going on, man? Welcome back.
What's up, man? Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Dude, this is going to be an epic show. And if you haven't figured out, if you're watching right now, this is going to be our Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler discussion. Rob's in the chat. Rob said,
Rob, why isn't he in here?
"Lies."
Why aren't you in here, Rob?
Hey, man. Hey,
Oh,
the door's
man. Here
open,
we
Rob.
go.
Door is wide
Man,
open.
I'm losing respect for Rob, dude. He's a spectator now, man. Join the fight, dude. Like join the discussion, man.
He's got nothing
So,
to say.
I don't know.
oh,
Maybe he's scared of us, dude. I don't know, man. Come on, Rob.
I don't know if that's it. Joseph's in the chat says, "Nope, I haven't seen it, bro. Where have you been, bro?
What?
Come
Then
on,
get out of
Joe.
here. Get out of here and go watch it.
Run,
What are you
Joe. Run,
doing? What are you
run."
doing?
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Robert's on baby duty, man. I'll
Probably.
feel your pain, brother. Take care of that baby,
Hey, bring the baby on the show. What do you have nothing against
dude. It's
babysitters?
hard. It's hard
You
to
know
take
how
care of a baby and do
you
a
know how
show, man.
often is my baby on the show? She does a cameo every other episode. I'm just saying, Rob.
But she doesn't
You
need to
can
be
have
fed anymore. Like she's pretty self-reliant. But you just put a bowl and she'll eat herself, and pour herself a little drink.
Joe Joe says he's got 3 kids and a wife that works at night. Oh man. True
Dude,
that.
damn.
True that, Joe.
I got three
Um,
kids too, man. That's no joke.
no joke. No joke at all. So
Mm-mm.
listen, this is gonna be Derek says, did Valise fix his internet? I don't know. Valise, did we upgrade?
We're
We
gonna
good?
find out. We're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out. Appreciate that comment, Derek. So this is gonna be our Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler discussion. If you haven't seen it, you might not have anything to get spoiled. There's everything has been rumored. I think is pretty much like been somewhat confirmed by Alfred Molina. Like the villains have already been revealed, and everything has been everywhere. There's really nothing we can spoil, I would say, because even Marvel went out today and released promotional art and concept photos for everybody that was in the film. So don't be mad at us. When the big guys, when Marvel and Marvel Studios throws it all out there, that means it's like free game. So
Yeah.
listen, if you watched it, fantastic. We want to hear from you. What was your favorite part? Joe says, "Stay away from rumors." These were these were rumors that were like talked about by everybody across the board. So it was just like, dude, yeah.
Joseph said, "Stop talking, Ted. Like, get to it, dude."
Well, I'm trying not to give him anything. All right, Joe. Here we go, man. This is for you. Spoiler warning for anybody else who hasn't seen it besides Joe. We're gonna talk about anything and everything, and can't do it. And then Eliud, do not let me forget. At the end of the show, at the end of this discussion, we need to ask you where you think the movie's gonna go. Where can this Peter Parker go from here? I really want to get your take on that because this is a very different situation for this Peter Parker than he's ever been in before. So, I'm not going to go play by play, scene by scene. That would take way too long. But we're actually going to go at least by act. Act one of this movie starts out with how we ended from the last one. Uh, the last one, Peter Parker um, has been outed. He's been revealed to the masses, to the world, and it takes off right from there, and it goes quickly. And we find out that his world has been turned upside down. His friends, it's been affecting them. We see all the funny little elements. His school, how his teachers treat him differently now. How Flash is his best friend and always has been. He wrote a book on it, like in like a day or two. I
Oh, it
don't know
was
how that
called
happened.
Flashpoint. The book was Flashpoint.
Little jab there to DC. I like that a lot. Um, Yeah, Elliot, let me ask you first, man. This has been one of your criticisms of this MCU Spider-Man. Oh,
Oh, he came
what did
out.
he hit? He hit the wrong button. Noe's in the chat says my favorite part seeing all three Spider-Man together, Tom, Toby, Andrew, and that hug was like a passing of the torch. So good, sir. So good. Appreciate the comment, Noe. Absolutely, sir. Joe, maybe I'll just ask you instead, man, until Andrew gets back. This has been one of the things that I think some people have had criticisms with this Spider-Man, is that Peter Parker, the comics, he's always a hero that has real world issues, real life problems. He's got homework, he has midterms, he has relationship issues, and some of that we get into, but not a whole lot. And so this is like Derek's already laughing. This is like the first major real life issue that this Parker has sort of faced now that his identity's been revealed. Did you Do you think they did enough in this first act to convey like all the issues that he's having? Do you think they should have done more with it? I know it was kind of all really thrown together really fast. It's a lot of information happening, a lot of things going on really quickly, but do you at least like how they kind of um showed us his new world, how the repercussions from the last movie, how it is now?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you're just thrown into the fray right away, and you see how different life is for him. At one moment, he's just dropping off Mary Jane, and everything's copacetic, and then all of a sudden, you see what the chaos ensues because
Word.
everybody's asking what. Yeah,
We ain't said
everybody's
nothing, man. We
asking.
ain't said nothing.
Yeah, everybody's asking Mary Jane, "Are you Peter Parker? Are you Spider Man's girlfriend?" And
Yeah.
she's like, just like, "What's going on?" And he jumps down and saves her. And then you even see somebody trying to grab at him, and he's taking off with Mary Jane, and it's just chaos from there because you see him going to his safe haven, which is going to be home for him, his apartment that he shares with his Aunt May. And even there, she's breaking up with Happy, which is funny. You see Happy over there trying to cry and stuff,
We're
and
happy.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, she's like, "It's a fling, Happy. It's a fling," and he's like, "Well, when can I see you again?" he's not taking no for an answer, which is funny to me. But you hear the noise in Peter's bedroom, and they all go into investigate, and that's another funny part. Even though this chaos is happening, Aunt May opens the door, and what do you see? A half dressed Peter Parker and his girlfriend there, and then they're like, "Oh my god! Oh my
Hilarious
god!"
moment. Hilarious moment.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's one of these moments where it's kind of cringy, but they do a good job of keeping the camera on there. And then Aunt May's trying to go ahead and hug Zendaya, which is Mary Jane. Hey, it's nice to meet you. And the dude's still in his underwear and a t-shirt, but then he's trying to close blinds and he's trying to tell them what's happening, and they're still trying to kind of figure things out. Hey, you broke up with Happy, blah blah, blah. And he's like trying to show them what's going on, and then they happen to see the TV, and then that's basically when everything catches up, and it's like, this is a thing, this is happening now. And that's kind of funny because Aunt May and Happy are kind of like his parental units at this point. He actually needs their help, because this is happening at this exact moment. And it was crazy. I think we get thrown into that craziness that's going on. And that's exactly what the director meant to happen. You're seeing it through the eyes of one Peter Parker who's still a kid. He's still trying to figure himself out, let alone deal with all the madness. So I thought that was very well done. Kind of made it believable.
I agree. I agree. Elliot, I asked Joe the same question I asked you before. You had to step away for a quick second.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude, no, listen. You've had one of the issues you've always had with this MCU's Peter Parker is that he doesn't ever have those sort of real life issues or problems that you see in the comics. This is sort of one that he has to deal with on his own. All the other movies, he always has a hero to talk to or to back him up, and he's got Happy always to kind of get him out of situations and things. This is the first time he's having to deal with something on his own. So this first act, the start of this movie, does it actually get you into sort of that comic mindset or that state of mind that this is sort of a much different scenario for this Peter Parker?
Well, yeah, in a way, I think it's so on the first act of this movie. I think it's a very unique situation because it's something we've never really seen with any of the other Spider-Man movies. Is that
Absolutely.
everybody knows who he is?
Yeah.
So what do you do? So and the fact that it wasn't a good thing. You know what I mean? Like he was getting ridiculed. Everybody still believed Mysterio. It didn't work out to his benefit. I did like that because again, that's what happened in Civil War. A lot of people weren't happy that he was Spider Man, and a lot of old villains were trying to chase him down at his old house and everything like that. Drive bys and stuff like that. So I did like that. Aunt May's like, man, we gotta move. We gotta start figuring something out. So already the tone was already different, even though he was still kind of in high school, but it wasn't high school anymore, man. Like it
No.
was completely different tone now on all right, like shit just got real. What do I do? How do I protect my friends and family? And how do I recover from this? So I did like that. And then yeah, again, I thought that started off really well and kind of set that tone for the movie. I was like, damn, like what do you do now that everybody knows, you know?
Yeah,
So
that was
yeah, that
always
was
the
pretty good.
that was always the question. Like, how are you going to solve this? This is something that
Yeah,
no heroes really gone through. Like Tony Stark went through this when everybody found out, but it's like nothing really happened after that.
yeah,
His lifestyle didn't change. Dude was an
yeah,
adult. He wasn't like
He didn't
he
need
had, he
saving.
had he had no family to affect really.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, people go after him in the next film after that. That's definitely something to consider. But his regular life isn't being altered drastically.
Right,
Um,
right.
Noe's in here and says, if this movie doesn't make Green Goblin Spider-Man the greatest villain of all time, then something wrong with people, dude.
For the movie, it
Yes,
does. For the movie,
yes.
it does. I think he definitely took the mantle for Doctor Octopus. I think because for a while I thought Doc
Ooh,
was the best one, because of Spider-Man 2. But Green Goblin came back and he definitely. I mean, man, he like I said, he definitely took that mantle right back. So yeah, in the
I'll
movies he does.
we'll get past the first act really quickly, but other thing we have to call out is getting Charlie Cox back as Daredevil,
Hmm.
making a cameo. It's slightly disappointed that it was just like a 2-minute situation with him, but it was still epic to see Charlie Cox back on the screen wearing the glasses. As soon as that cane dropped, as soon as you had that cane, whoop-ah, like slam onto the ground. Everybody in my theater, my IMAX opening night showing, went crazy, and I'm just like, hold on, let's wait and see. And sure enough, it was really him. So yeah, no, the crowd in my theater absolutely loved it. Even though, again, one of those huge rumors, we had picture leaks and all that stuff come out. So it really sucks that like a lot of these things were either confirmed or were just so talked about that they couldn't be wrong. But great seeing Charlie Cox as Daredevil once again, and the catching of the brick was just like an OG move, just like whapa. I'm a good lawyer. That's how I did that. And
Yeah, no,
great,
that was
great to
that
see
was
him,
pretty
man.
neat. Yeah, that was pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting that. I thought that was just like a rumor. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't
Dude,
see that happening. Yeah, I didn't see that happening, man. But I'm surprised that it did. So I'm sure that was a nice little Easter egg for all the Daredevil fans out there. So
Yeah,
that
but
was
at
pretty
this
cool.
point, now that we have the introduction of Daredevil, he's now permanently tied into the MCU,
Hmm.
which is great because that just paves the way for the other Netflix Marvel series to actually start making their way if they choose to. Bring in maybe Jessica Jones. Are they going to bring in the Iron Fist? The Punisher. It's like that's pretty badass if they go ahead and start introducing characters in other films, so
Hmm.
at some point you can go ahead and have them all join the MCU. That would be pretty amazing. Can you imagine not only making appearances or cameos in films, but also that paves the way for them to possibly have a series on Disney Plus or something, so I would welcome that. I like the series that they had on Netflix. I was sad when they started canceling them.
Yeah,
You know?
and you know what? A note to that. I think being that the old Avengers are kind of now gone, like Tony Stark and then Captain America. Like a lot of the older Avengers are not there, and they're trying to get these like what's the new team? I think that those Netflix series
the
teams. I think
defenders.
yeah, the Defenders. I think people will be more than happy to see that coming to fruition. I know I would,
Yeah.
compared to like some of the stuff that they've been pitching. I
Dude,
don't want to knock on the other MCU movies, but I haven't been, Phase 4 has been kind of until now, but you know what I mean. I'm like it's been kind of until now, but
oh,
if they
Shang-Chi was
do,
awesome. What are you talking about, man?
hey, I'm just
Phase
saying,
4 has
man.
been a slow burn, Ted.
It's a
Been a slow
little, it's a little,
Eternal
it's not
Eternals
gonna
was
drag me to
iffy.
the theater, Ted, is what I'm
Oh,
saying. It's not gonna drag me like, hey, opening night. But
Eternals, no.
if you get Luke Cage and Daredevil, Jessica Jones, I'm
Jones.
pretty sure they'll draw in that crowd.
It's
If they do it, they will come.
Joe, you beat me to it, man. Yeah. So now that Charlie Cox is pretty much Daredevil confirmed in this MCU, this universe, and we also have a Kingpin confirmation on Hawkeye. Spoiler alert if you haven't been keeping up with the last 5, 6 weeks of Hawkeye. Kingpin in the
That's
MCU, like not
awesome.
not just like he exists down the block. He's like running things. He pretty much runs the crime organization within Hawkeye that he's having to deal with. So, dude, the MCU TV shows on Netflix are like almost canon, like
Canon.
it's almost official now.
Yeah.
And we've always been real hesitant with saying like Agents of Shield probably not canon. I think like Agent Carter has kind of been on the fence as well, like whether that's canon or not. Yes, she's in other movies and stuff, but still, like the events and the history and whatnot, it's always been kind of iffy. But if you're canonizing the Netflix Marvel shows, that's freaking dope. And there was always on the fence stuff. They would like talk about Hulk and they talk about Thor or whatever else just in passing, but this is really awesome. And yeah, bringing in the defenders, I really did think maybe phase 3 or maybe at the end of phase 2, the new Avengers initiative would get launched. And that's when the Avengers. I thought Infinity War was going to end with the Avengers losing, which it kind of they did. And then I thought the new Avengers initiative would take place. That's where Tony Stark actually like sends out a message to any and all heroes to rescue the Avengers. And so it didn't happen that way, but I always thought the Defenders would actually come into Avengers 3, which was Infinity War. Before we knew it was Infinity War, I thought that'd be a great place to bring in the Defenders and do that stuff. But it's all good, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like they're going to start introducing things slowly, but I like the direction that they're going. And this was huge. It was a big cameo at that when the theater that I watched it in. Everybody got excited. The whole theater screamed in jubilation, like, "All right, And that's another thing too. When you're seeing this type of film, this Spider-Man film, it's meant to be watched with fans in a theater setting, so it made it even that much more enjoyable to get excited with the audience and
Yeah.
feed off of that. I miss that. And watching this Spidey film again brought back that feeling. Hey, this is why you go to the movies.
Hmm. Oh,
Rob's
absolutely.
still in the chat, not with us, but he's still in the chat, and he says, "You don't have to drop the spoiler, then say spoiler alert, jerk. You might have joined a little late. I said spoiler warning or alert at the very beginning of the show. Plus, if you read the caption, spoiler discussions at the bottom, man. Come on,
Yeah,
open your eyes,
bro.
sir.
Matter of fact, just leave the chat, dude. Don't even worry about it. Just leave the chat, dude.
Hey,
Don't worry
Ted,
about
No,
maybe you need
please watch, Rob. Please watch.
it. Just leave the chat, bro.
That way we can keep
maybe
talking about you, Rob.
All this criticism.
just maybe permanently put spoiler discussion up there on the screen.
It is.
Yeah.
It's up there. It's been up there since we started. It's all
I don't
good.
know, man. Maybe Rob needs hooked on phonics, bro. I don't know.
It's,
Hey, dude.
put on your good glasses, Rob, not the cheap
I'm
ones. Put
just
on the
playing,
good ones.
Rob.
I'm
Uh,
not. I'm not
let's
kidding.
let's get into sort of the real problem after Act One. So Parker goes over to Doctor Strange, and turns out the whole snow in the Sanctum Sanctorum doesn't mean anything. It was just kind of like a weird bit that they were doing, which is fine. But he tells him, "I want everybody to not know who I am," and we see that scene play out again with him conjuring up the spell, and I think it makes more sense this way than we did in the trailer. Which obviously, you're right, that's what's going to happen. But you see Strange having to modify the spell every time, and that creates a new ring in the spell as opposed to just the one that says, "Okay, everybody will forget." And you know what? Marvel's going to do this forever and ever and ever. The stuff how it went down in the trailer was way different in tone as how it went down in the movie. It really looked like Strange was sort of like disobeying Wong, saying like, "Oh yeah, I won't do it, I won't do it." And then he winks at Parker, says like, "Oh yeah, we'll do it anyways." But no, Wong actually knew in the movie, like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna do this." He just said, "Leave me out of it. Like, I don't want to know what happens. Just don't screw up, and then don't tell me what happens." They screwed up anyways. But yeah, so Marvel being Marvel, there nothing in the trailer is ever as it seems, or it doesn't mean it's going to be the way it goes in the movie. Just another example of that, right?
Yeah, I think the
Um,
biggest takeaway though, Ted,
I
is
know
that
you had a
Wong
big
is the
takeaway. Go for it.
sorcerer supreme. Wong
Yeah,
is the sorcerer supreme now. So I was like,
which
okay,
makes sense because yeah, like
yeah,
they said, Strange was blip for 5 years.
yeah. He's well. It's funny because Doctor Strange, like he got it on a technicality.
He
I
got a
was yeah.
technicality.
So it was kind of like a little cynicism there. He got it on a technicality, but you know, I should be the guy.
Who do you mostly blame for? This is a great question. Who do you mostly blame for the spell not working? Strange could have been a little bit more forthcoming and like given him all the details. Like nobody will know who you are. Um, and then that way Parker could have then said like, "Well, here's a list of people I do need. Go ahead and make that happen." Oh, and you, by the way, I need you, Doctor Strange, to know who I am too. But that never happened. So do you blame Strange for not kind of giving out more information before he started the spell, or do you blame Parker for jumping in mid casting and really screwing it all up?
I blame Strange actually. Like now that I see the movie, I did blame Strange because as he's doing the spell, he's telling him all the terms, and
Yeah,
like Peter. So it's like Peter's like, wait, hold on, wait, nobody's gonna know. Like, wait, hold on, So it's like, yeah, like, didn't you know, kid? No, he didn't. Like, so, yeah, I kind of like, and again, in the trailer, it looked like it was Peter's fault. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, but when I see the movie, I was like, well, oh, okay. Like, Strange didn't even break it down to him. Like, he's telling him
no.
why he's doing it. I was like, okay, dude. Like, all right.
Do
But
you
I
know
mean,
anybody like that that just starts like doing something and you're like, wait a minute,
yes,
I need you to
yes.
like pump the brakes a little bit and let's talk about this. Like,
Absolutely, absolutely, man. You could look at insurance companies.
I
You
was
could
about to
look
say,
at,
like car
look
salesman. Car salesman's like
at car
writing out
salesman.
the
Hey,
report
yeah, yeah,
already.
yeah.
Like,
It's
oh
like
yeah,
you're
Wait,
getting
hold up,
it's
dude.
yours.
it's like you're getting surgery performed on you by a doctor, and the doctor
Mhm.
is going to put you to sleep. Oh, by the way, these are the side effects. This is what can happen to you. Oh, hold on.
Oh, hold
You know,
on.
wait up, dude. Why'd you tell me that before?
Yeah, yeah.
You
No,
have up to
I definitely blame Strange on that, man. So I was like, "Hey, bro, that's your fault." You know what I mean? Like you didn't talk it over with the teenager here. So, you know what I mean? Like that could have been like a mentoring, like, "Hey, kid, like it's not that bad. Look at the bright side." You know what I mean? Or if you need any help, why don't we try doing this? Or have you spoken to the teachers yet? Or how have you spoken to the board
yeah.
of directors to get in? You know what I mean? Like they didn't even talk about all the different options first before they start tampering with, the multiverse of madness bullshit. You know what I mean? So it's like they just went right into a spell, man. So I was like, dang, all right.
So okay, so hold on. By the way, Rob agrees with you, so you got that going for you. But so strange. It's Strange's fault for the spell. Joe, maybe you agree, but Parker doesn't even go to May about the college situation. Maybe she brings it up like, "Oh yeah, just give them a call and get tell them your side of the story, and maybe they'll
Mhm.
figure something out." So this, so I I kind of feel like the movie, as far as the story goes, the responsibility falls on Parker because he didn't like try anything else, and it was just like, let's go to Strange and mess with everybody's mind.
Yeah,
Brainwash the world, Doctor Strange. That's the only thing that we can do. I I and I think for the story's sake, especially how it ends, it's almost like it's way more deep for the hero to take responsibility in the way that he does at the end if you consider how it got so messy in the first place. And if you put
True.
all the blame on Strange, it's almost like he's taking responsibility for Strange, and I don't like that a lot.
I'm not putting all the blame on Strange. What I'm trying to say is that Parker is a teenager, all right, a 17-year-old teenager. So
yeah,
he probably thought, if I knew I had a magician under my secret pocket, that you know what, maybe I could just turn this around. Then why not ask him and use it? You know what I mean? We saved the
Yep.
world together. You know what I mean? Like if he has that behind his pocket, why not ask? You know. So I can see a 17-year-old kid trying to do something like that without trying to go to his parents, or you know what I mean, trying to solve it on his own. It's kind of how I kind of see it. But
yeah.
Rob's getting aggressive now. He says, "Shut up, City."
oh my goodness, no, but you got a point. I mean, you got
Yeah,
a
but there,
point, but at the same time, again, who's the adult? Like,
No, no,
come
no.
on. Yeah.
there are several things going on there, and but with Peter Parker, it's just showing his immaturity because he is a kid.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah,
second thing is Doctor Strange just blatantly being a little arrogant and cocky and going to go ahead and just use a spell without even thinking. I'm like, what are you thinking as the adult without even talking to the kid first to see if he's already explored all his options? Maybe he just needed you to consult him and talk with him just like he did, when he's doing this spell. Hey, why didn't you talk to the board? Why didn't you go ahead and try to get you and your friends into MIT before you came to see me? Did you explore all your options first? Like Doctor Strange just got cocky. There's like, you're talking to a kid, man. Even though you all did save the world together, he's a child. It's like you got to be the adult here, man.
Chat chingo. No,
Matthew.
I
Matthew
totally agree
agrees.
with you, man.
Yeah,
I
Matthew
totally agree.
agrees too. He says he's kind of garbage. He's always being so
Fucking
pretentious.
a
Yeah,
dinosaur.
no, totally. Especially with a spell that is messing with the memories of billions of people. Like he's just doing it all nonchalantly. Like there might not be any sort of ramifications. I'm gonna ask this
Oh yeah,
one.
that would have been entertaining.
Did
Derek
y'all
says it
notice the
was
runes?
Spark's idea, and then sure enough, oh, now all the comments coming in. At
Oh
the end
Did
of
you
the
man.
notice the
movie,
runes
they go
though?
with that same spell. What's
when
up,
he
Joe?
was doing the spell, the runes, like when you saw Wanda doing spells,
Yeah.
even with Agatha, when she was using her runes, the runes were very pronounced, like they were very thick, like as far as the border that surrounded each rune was very aggressive, was very bold and wide. But when Strange was doing the spell, and then he started changing things in the spell, the runes started getting a little thinned out. So to me, it means that yes, it's still a potent spell, but since you're changing it, you're also changing the complexion of the actual runes themselves. So to me, that was interesting. As he started taking things out, the runes changed. So I was
Yeah,
like, all
no,
right,
the details in how they actually presented that was freaking dope. And
yeah.
then I like that they put so much emphasis on Parker saying, well, basically anybody who knew before should still know. And that's what really jacked up the spell. Then they sort of saw the multiverse, the visual representation of it, and then actually you see a couple of villains at that point. And I want to say the one or two that I could make out that were sort of peering into the void. I think one was Doc Ock, and then maybe one of them was also Green Goblin. Maybe. I Again, they're like white silhouette figures that are sort of peering into the void. But there was at that moment that like a couple of them kind of like, what? What's going on? And peered into this. Rob says, "Oh yeah, because that would have been entertaining." Adriel says, "Maybe he just needed Doctor Strange letter of recommendation, or even considering Doctor Strange is just recovering from making the one out of the millions of outcomes from Endgame to him just being, yeah, let's try it." The dude is nonchalant with everything he does. Any spell, whatever, he's just like, "Oh yeah." So listen, I have to throw this out there. We're dealing with a spell regarding memories, right?
Right.
Right. We can all agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's not changing time. It's not changing the past, right?
Right.
Well,
Cool.
that's no, no, no. Before you
Ah,
start getting into that subject, what did Wong tell him? He said, don't use that spell because it also can mess with the construct of space and time.
well, I think he was. I agree. He said that, and I thought he was just referring to like you can tap into the multiverse if you don't do it properly.
Hmm.
Yeah, but you can mess with space and time as well, not just with memories.
So my
I
my question is, how does it
I didn't
work
take
with?
it like that. I didn't take it like that. I took
Well,
it as
here's yeah
people forgot.
here's my question. So does it also involve changing elements of the past because Flash Thompson wrote a book? Does that mean the book never got written? Does
He
he
doesn't
forget?
remember him.
Well, I get that, but like I can take your memories right now and say you've never met Eliu, but that doesn't mean you've never been on another podcast with Eliu. You just don't remember that.
Well, let's take it very simply like this. If that was the case, then why did Peter Parker have to have a GED book at the end of the film?
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, because nobody was going to remember that he went to high school.
They don't recognize him, they don't remember
Right.
him
Yeah.
Hold on. So you're saying nobody knows that Parker exists ever?
ever.
Ever.
He
That's a
got
very
erased from
That's a
everything,
very
dude.
different spell than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was like, no one's gonna know I'm Spider-Man. I didn't ever think it was gonna be like, tell
Well,
everybody to forget what I look like. Like, that's a very
Spider Man is
different
Peter
spell.
Parker, Ted. So it's like, hello, in order for you to erase Spider Man, you got to erase Peter Parker from the minds of everybody else as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so no, that's even worse than I thought. So it really is like he doesn't exist on this
Correct.
planet
Yeah,
whatsoever.
like
Correct.
they don't even
Only
know that
Spider Man.
he was related to May at this point because that
Hmm.
never happened.
Right.
He was erased.
Yeah, I saw that, and that's one thing that kind of was odd. Like, you couldn't just say you're May's nephew. He doesn't know you're Spider-Man anymore. But no, May doesn't have a nephew.
Doesn't have a nephew. Yeah, exactly.
Damn, that's
Some
deep.
dark shit.
It's real
Yeah.
dark. Gah.
Yeah.
Matt says, "What up, Matt?" Matthew Barker, who's one of the members of the SA Ghostbusters crew, which is just incredible. Hey, listen, real quick shout out. Thank you to everybody who donated a toy or an item to our Ghostbusters Toy Drive. It was a nationwide campaign put on by the official Ghostbusters social media account. They started it. We ran with it. We were part of a major toy drive campaign. Dozens and dozens of Ghostbuster teams across the country and in Canada also joined in. If you donated a toy, if you donated an item, you're in the running for our Ecto One popcorn bucket. But we had a ton. We had a ton of items donated. We had some people who didn't even want to join the raffle. They're just like, we just want to do something cool, and we really appreciate you guys doing this. So they just dropped off something and they said, give it to somebody else. But we really appreciate it. We had a blast, and Rob, who was there tonight at Dragon's Lair at Alamo Ranch, said they had a ton more donations. So, dude, you are making um, Christmas very special for a lot of families, dozens of families that are going to be thrilled with what we drop off this week. So appreciate
That's
that. All
awesome.
right, Matthew's part of that group, so shout out to Matthew. What do you say? Andrew deserves another Spider-Man movie? Question mark. He was a victim of a poor story. Yes, absolutely right. He
Hmm.
showed he cares in this movie, dude. Absolutely, absolutely. Angel says maybe he writes a book, but as a fan, is Spider-Man about Flash? Could be. Rob says, right? It's like he never existed. Yeah, no. And I was sort of questioning that. It's like, no, it can't be that. It's absolutely
No,
that.
it's like somebody said they know that there's a Spider-Man in this universe. They just don't know who he is. They have no clue about who he might be. If he's a kid, is he an adult? I mean, he's just a dude out there doing his thing. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man with no identity.
I had the same question though. Adriel brings up a great point. He says he also walks into the same apartment that Toby stayed in.
Yeah,
Ellie,
that
did
was
you think
wild.
that too?
Yes, I did see that.
I was
Dude,
waiting for the
Yes.
landlord's daughter.
I
Remember
was waiting for
someone?
the
Yeah, I was
landlord.
actually waiting on the landlord. Yes.
Yeah, the
I was
landlord
actually
and the
waiting on the
landlord's
landlord,
daughter.
like, hey,
He's
rent
like,
or
please,
some shit.
Rent's
But
due first of the month, kid.
rent due.
yeah, don't be
Rent due
late.
now. You
But
pay
yeah,
me,
no, there it was.
Yeah,
man.
that was wild.
Freaking awesome. Daniel says this is essentially the Sentry storyline of why he was never around. Dude, yeah, completely. Angel says, think about it. Think about that. They know a Spider-Man exists, but no clue of who he is or the life he lived before it. Yep, yep. And yeah, he doubled down, says looks completely the same. Yeah, that room looked absolutely the same. And I was just like, no, that can't be it. That can't be it. I'll ask
Yep.
the guys later. Yeah, absolutely it.
Okay, well, let me ask you another question, right?
What's that?
Because you all said, well, if they're just casting a spell to go ahead and erase the memory of one Peter Parker from everybody's minds, that they don't know who he is anymore,
Right,
that they don't know the identity of Spider-Man, then
right.
why did this spell affect the multiverse and allow other characters from the other multiverses to come in if it's just a spell that's going to delete your memories, right?
Can I tell if I can?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that because Parker's mod to the spell was so vague that it left it open to some really drastic interpretations. And I know that there's one person in this movie that sort of is doesn't fall completely in line with this theory. But when Parker says basically everybody who knows I was Spider-Man before should still know, and that's such a vague open modification to the spell that that also included everybody from every known multiverse. There should be more people in this planet on Earth at this time that know who a Peter Parker was and who he was Spider-Man wise basically, that we never saw. Like Gwen Stacy should be somewhere on this earth, and I'm gonna say this again later on, but the spell how it got screwed up is so open and so vague that yeah, someone like Gwen Stacy should have been pulled from the moment she died and dropped down into this universe, and she was probably just walking around aimlessly looking for Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, not knowing what happened, because that's exactly what happened to all the villains who knew who Peter Parker was.
Hmm.
Alfred Molina was pulled as Doc Ock from the moment he died. Um, Jamie Foxx was pulled from the moment he died, even though he was a villain who never knew the identity of Spider-Man. That's the one I was talking about. Like, that's the one that kind of doesn't fit the theory. It's curious why they brought him in, since he never knew the Spider-Man's true identity. But Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, pulled from the moment he probably dies, because he looks basically the same, and is pulled into this universe. That's all I can say about that. It's Parker's Tom Holland's Parker, Spider-Man 1, Spidey 1, Spidey 1's modification to the spell, which is so vague that it brings all these other people from other universes. Ellie,
Well,
what
I
were you
think
gonna say?
the best explanation is because it was a botch spell. It didn't fully
Oh yeah,
complete, so basically it just went out of control. And again, it Wong even kind of mentioned that it could affect space time, basically multiverses. So because it didn't complete, this is what happened, and now we're entering this fray where they think everything's okay. I contained the spell. That's what Doctor Strange is thinking. And that little, weird looking cube thing that he had. And he's going to try to go ahead and contain it even further, still working on that because he knows he botched the spell. But I think at that point, they both didn't really know what was going to happen because of the botch spell. What were going to be the ramifications for it? But I know you're going to start
absolutely.
getting to it now, where we're going to find out.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll kind of say about this is it's a lot like metadata. It's a lot like data mining. If you ever written a code for data mining, you got to be very specific on what type of information you're looking for. If your code is too vague and it casts too large of a net and pulls in things you're not really looking for. So I kind of
Yeah,
see it like that. But I like how
yeah,
you
you're
said it,
basically
Joe.
decoding hash. You're decoding hash to get a to do data mining.
Yeah, I like how you said it. It was unfinished. I mean, the last part of the spell is probably like on this planet, and he didn't get to write that part. That's why I brought
Mhm.
everybody else in. So right after this, the spell is botched. Parker goes out into the world, and he's met first with Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, uh, which epic fight scene. Alfred Molina was incredible. Willem Dafoe was incredible. Jamie Foxx definitely enhanced from the last time. Sandman probably not asked to do a lot in this one, and had some sort of like good guy, bad guy sort of heel turns that I guess were kind of explainable, but you never really got a good sense of where his head was at.
Hmm.
But I'll ask you, Eliud. Out of everybody, all these villains that we got, even Lizard King, who really stood out to you the most? Who were you most impressed with? Who did you really enjoy seeing again out of all the villains we got in this movie?
Well, it definitely, well, Doc Ock, of course, but that was to be expected.
Oh, all right.
But I mean, for me, definitely was Green Goblin and Electro. I liked Electro. I wanted more of Electro, to be honest with you, because I like Electro as a villain, and I like that he had that cocky attitude that he wanted more power. He wanted, to be recognized still, and he didn't want to give that power up, you know. Um, and to be honest with you, I don't think he had to give it up in some ways. You know what I mean? Like I kind of felt for the guy. He's like, look, Green Goblin screwed in the head. What's his name? The Doctor Octopus. His chip is screwed up, so that's what's making him crazy.
Yeah.
But I just need to behave. I still want my power, though. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to give it up. I just got to behave and just not do stupid shit. Like, but I got
Too
to
much
give up
to
my
ask for, though.
power.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got to give up my power. Like you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
felt for
got
the
you.
guy. Yeah,
I got you.
like I felt for the guy, like just kind of like, nah, man, I
Well, you
like
know
this.
what? Here's a question though. I mean, these guys, especially Max. Max is pulled from the moment he dies.
Hmm.
You agree, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
They all
so
were. They
much,
Yeah.
all.
much, much like the blip, everybody who kind of came back gets put into the exact moment that they were dusted. So
Yeah.
if Max goes back into his universe still with his power, then he also dies. Like it's not. I think that he has to give it up, right, in order to just
Mm.
survive. Is that the way you took it?
I no, you know what? I didn't take it like that. I didn't take it like that. I took it as they're destined to get killed because of their intentions. You know what I mean? If you're gonna eventually fight Spider-Man, or you're if you know, but if you redeem yourself at the last moment, there's nothing to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like if Jamie Foxx were to go back and be like, hey, you know what? Hey, I give up. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to, whatever. I just give up. I don't want to fight, or whatever. Then that's different. It's kind of like with Willem Dafoe, or and Doctor Octopus. You know what I mean? Like they just if they went back, it would be different for them because they're screwed up in the head. You know what I mean? Like it's different. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Where Electro wasn't. Electro just he actually I really want this power. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like I want to
Yeah,
be better than Spider-Man. I like this. And for what, and that's why, if the only way he was going to be tamed if he gave it up. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's kind of how I took it. And of course, Lizard. Um, in the comic books, man, I always liked the Lizard, but I just wish that they just didn't hold back with that character, because that character is very menacing. Like it's a very like menacing uh, kind of character. This Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of character, and I feel like that unfortunately, like with that lizard, it was just kind of like this tame creature, you know.
I gotcha.
But
Joe, what do
yeah,
you
no.
think, man? Do you think these villains? Who is your favorite, sort of out of the bunch? And then, is your take that if they don't kind of get fixed like a dog,
Yeah.
Like it.
that they die, that they all have to meet their fate, whatever it was, whatever that moment was when they were pulled, they get thrown back into it.
Yeah, basically, I mean, what they're saying is they're all fated to die fighting Spider-Man. And before that happened, they were pulled, because of that botched spell
Yeah,
into this universe. Now we go back, and you're asking me who is my favorite villain that came through. I like Dr. Ock. I like Dr. Ock. I mean, yeah, I feel for Jamie Foxx's character in Electro, Max or whatever the character's name is.
Max. Yeah,
But the thing that each one of these characters has in common is they all desire power. Each one of them desires power. They desire power because to them they're going to be able to fulfill their dream, because you look at Dr. Ock, what does he want? To fulfill his dream of that nuclear fission, holding the power of the sun in the palm of your hand. That didn't go well with him, we know that.
Hmm.
did
Then you
not.
look at Electro. What does Electro want? Nothing more but more power. He has a heart that will never be filled. He's always going to desire more and more and more power. He was always almost near completion of becoming pure energy, he said. And if you become pure energy and you're an elemental being at that point, and
Yeah,
you're going to just always desire to get stronger and recharge yourself by going into the network, into the wires, whatever, and drawing more and more and more power. You're never going to be fulfilled. And then with the lizard, he wants to turn everybody into a lizard because he thinks in his fractured psyche that being a lizard, human/human hybrid, is perfection.
the
You
next
know,
step of evolution.
yeah.
Yep.
And then with the thing is that the one out of the whole bunch who is just batshit crazy is the Goblin, because the Goblin, there's no rhyme, there's no reason. He's just he's just a loose cannon, dude. You don't know what this guy's gonna do. He could turn on you 1 second and be your friend, want to give you a hug, eat a donut with you, sip on a coffee, and then the next minute he's trying to kill your ass. You know, so it's like he's the wild card.
Yeah,
You know, William Defoe, the Green Goblin. I mean, that dude's just bad news, man, from the get go. You know, so it's like I really enjoyed the Goblin, but I do like Doctor Ock, because at the end of the day, a lot of things that he shared with Peter was his love for science. Kind of, he was even a mentor to Peter Parker at some
Yeah.
point in time. So I kind of like their relationship, but the only reason he took a heel turn is because he couldn't control he lost control of the arms and the arms controlled him. He could no longer control his own mind, so he was a byproduct of his own creation,
Yeah.
I agree, and I also want to say that I'm skipping too many comments here, and I need to get back on some of these. Real quick, Matthew says, "Does throwing away all of the memories kind of crap on all the time that we've had invested in these characters and their relationships? It seems like an unnecessary consequence. It is something M Night Shyamalan would do." Listen, I think that's the part that makes his decision at the end sort of it's more deep that way. It means more. It has more value for a hero to completely sacrifice his family, friends, his relationships, his love. I think that's one of the biggest things you can actually see a protagonist do in a movie,
Mhm.
and I you got to give respect to the guy. I think I'll ask Elliot about this later. It's probably the most Spider-Man decision we've ever seen in a movie.
Yep. No,
Um,
I totally agree.
Rob says he was also a little sympathetic towards Electro. Daniel says, "Does Doc Ock still die? He died after getting control and bringing down the machine, or is this the reason he got control?" Doc Ock is a curious question because if he gets put into the same situation, his machine still goes critical, right? So does he still have to sacrifice his own life in order to save New York City or save, the state or whatever was going to go down?
Well,
Um,
now
I think
his fate is changed.
I well, I think that again, we keep saying like they're put into the very specific moment where like things go bad.
Yeah.
So, Eliud, in your opinion, does Doc Ock have time to save himself and take his machine down?
And see, and that's where
It's a question. It's a good question.
and that's what kind of goes back to, is it at that exact moment? And that's where I disagree. I think they went back and their intentions have now changed because
So
again,
they get a they get a second chance.
yeah, yeah. So their intentions have now changed. I'm not seeing it as like, hey, he got like Green Goblin, like he got teleported right when he's about to get hit with the glider, or Doc Ock, he got teleported right before he's about to drown. It wouldn't make a difference because he was already redeemed in Spider-Man 2 anyways.
All right,
You
all
get what
right.
I'm saying? So that's
Yeah,
why um and when that happened, I don't know if you remember in Spider-Man 2 when Peter gets that I guess that electric tube that Doc Ock hits,
yeah,
that chip busted, and
right.
that's why he was able to get back conscience. So when does it, what, you know what I mean? So like I have questions on like when does it get teleported out? So like to me it doesn't make sense that they got teleported right at the second before they're about to die. You know what I mean? Because it didn't. What's the point of saving them? Because they get saved, they're gonna get killed anyways. You know what I mean? So I think there's got to be. I don't know, but I'm just saying that there's got to be some time in between where their intentions have now changed and like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. Like I don't have the ability. Like Electro probably still wanted the power, but now I don't have the ability anymore.
He's gonna go
Or
jump
Doc,
in that vat of electric eels again, bro.
true,
All it takes.
or Doc Ock, where he just, hey, I have, he stopped the fusion cell from being built or whatever. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
And again, like if you want to talk about like right before they're about to die, what about Sandman? Like I'm kind of curious with that. Like Sandman never came close to dying. You know,
Yep.
so when does he get teleported? You know what
Yep.
I mean? Like he doesn't die at the end of Spider-Man 3. You know what I mean? It was more like a redemption kind of thing. So and even then I didn't even like how that ended, but that's for another story.
That's another
But
one. That's another
yeah,
topic.
that's for another story. Yeah,
Rob said,
Sandman's a very sensitive topic because Sandman could have been such an amazing villain. Like the possibilities with Sandman, it was just such a waste, man. Like with that, but whatever. I'll get off of that soapbox later.
Robert says, "What do y'all suppose these situations do for the credibility of the OG Spider films? If Doc Ock, Doc Connors, and Flint go back redeemed, and how those movies end are no longer valid." I
Uh,
agree. I concur. Those movies change unless you. This is weird because Avengers 4 just told us like you can't change the past. You only create an alternate timeline. Joe, I know you want to weigh in on this.
Now you can't go forwards and backwards in times. You can only go
yeah,
sideways, and it
yeah,
creates other branches, and that creates other branches, and it just keeps going and going and going. Kind of
There
like
you
we
go,
saw with
Rob.
Loki, you know. But you're going back and looking at how these villains now have a second chance to do something, But what I'm thinking is, you can go ahead and give a villain a second chance. Doesn't mean that they're always going to change their ways. I think giving a second chance gives them a second chance to do something even more sinister. So going back, they said, "Hey, this didn't work for me before, so the heck with Spider-Man. I'm not going to mess with him, but I'm going to do something else even more sinister."
I
So
think they could do it though.
I'm thinking at this point, not just because you go ahead and change their fate from dying, then they have a choice to make. They can make a choice not to fight Spider-Man and
Sure.
choose to die, but it means that they have another agenda now. And maybe that agenda is starting to form the Sinister Six. Hey, if we go one on one, this is what happens to us. But if we all gang up together, maybe we have a better chance of doing something even better. So I'm just saying you can never change a villain. You can always give them a second chance, but they're still going to be a villain at the end of the day.
and you know what? I kind of agree with that in some ways. The only one that I think that really probably would go back and really like not fuck shit up is Doctor Octopus. So Doc Ock, I believe, would actually go back and be like, "Hey, you know what? I mess with stuff. I wouldn't go back." But Jamie
No.
Foxx, nah. Electro, he's gonna go back. He's like, "Nah, let me get a little bit more, or let me figure something else." So I could totally see that. You know
I
what I
gotta
mean?
build a
Like
weapon. Yeah.
yeah, because he already had it in him. Like there was nothing necessary wrong with him in the head. He already desired that. Nothing was gonna change that. You know,
You wanted respect, you wanted power.
yeah, he wanted that respect and power, and that's not going to stop. I don't see that stop. The only reason why he became redeemed is because he lost his power. It's like, all right, hey, I'm tapped out. All right, you got me. Shit, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
maybe
thought you
he
were
just
black.
makes
All
the
right, I'll
suit.
behave. I'll behave.
Maybe he's
Yeah,
still
I
gonna
thought you
be
were black,
Electro.
bro, but I guess whatever. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? That's how I see Electro, man. Like I know Electro still has it in him, so
Yeah,
we'll see
he
what
can still be
happens.
Electro, but maybe he's gonna use a suit, you know? We'll see,
Maybe we'll
you know?
see, man. There's a lot of possibilities. I really like Jamie Foxx's Electro, and like I said, I think Electro is such a fantastic villain, and I really hope that maybe something will come up later on with the Sinister Six with Jamie Foxx again, because that would be
One
pretty cool.
question
That'd be
that
dope.
I did have for you guys is like, okay, we know that the spell went through here in this universe, right? Nobody remembers who Peter Parker is. They just know that there's a Spider-Man. Now, we know how things can affect other universes. So I'm wondering, does the spell just work for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, or does it also affect Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man? Does it also affect Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, where they go back home and nobody has any memory of them? They don't know who they are. You know,
I hope not. I don't think I
I
took
don't
it that
know.
way. I don't think that was a thing that kind of crossed my mind. I
it
want to say
it did
it's
cross
only
my
this.
mind. I was like, hmm.
I want to say it's only this universe
universe.
is Peter Parker because this is the universe where everybody else converged.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. Let's kind of move forward in the story here because I know we haven't even gotten to the good part yet.
Okay.
Um, so Parker does something that you would expect every Spider-Man to do. He wants to fix everybody. So they capture all the villains, and I knew like Ellie popped in my mind at this moment. I'm just like, I know he's digging this part. Parker wanted to fix all of these cats, all five of these villains. I think there's five, right?
Hmm.
All five of these villains, fix them, make them whole again, save their lives, and it's something that Aunt May kept reiterating. And then we get to the point where Norman Osborn turns heel, and we got the Spidey sense back. Another thing Ellie complained about is that we never had a really good, solid Spidey sense in the first movie. In the second movie was I don't know, but anyways,
No, yeah,
and
I know.
then Osborn turns heel, and we're all gonna say the same thing. Willem Dafoe took Osborn from already what was a great villain and just like added to it and enhanced it in a lot of ways. Just getting as sinister as he could, I feel like outshined anything he did in the previous movies. He was as evil, as sadistic, as insane as you've always hoped a Green Goblin would be, a Norman
Hmm.
Osborn would be. Dare I say, he would have pulled off an incredible Joker doing a role very similar as he did in this one. Just being punched by Parker and laughing. I immediately went back into the Dark Knight where Batman's beating up Heath Ledger's
Oh
Joker
yeah.
in the interrogation room, and Joker's laughing his ass off. And I'm just like, we are at that type of performance right now. That's
Hmm.
how good Willem is in this film. And I would say this story, this script also did the Green Goblin justice by just going toe to toe with Spidey. And I don't know how you or Rob felt about this because I know you guys put Spidey on a big pedestal when it comes to hand to hand combat stuff, but Goblin just went to town on him, throwing him through multiple floors at one point, just having his way with him in certain situations. Like, I
No,
dug all of it.
yeah, no. So Goblin is just as strong, if not a little stronger than Spider-Man in some cases, in the comic books, anyways.
All right.
So Goblin is pretty strong. It's Hobgoblin that doesn't have no strength. Hobgoblin is just a regular guy with a suit and a glider, but the Green Goblin is the one with the strength. Um, that I think a little bit more so than Spider-Man, with that Goblin serum. Um, but yeah, I think Williams and I was actually thinking about that. I'm like, damn, what made that so different from the first one, from the first Spider-Man? And I have to say, the best decision that they did was getting rid of that mask, because I want to say that if it wasn't for that mask, if if he would have that mask on, we wouldn't get that same result. Like, we'd be like, oh, so, you know what I
Nope.
mean? But since that mask came off, and now it's Willem Dafoe, like, turning it on and off, and you could see it, where you couldn't see it in the original Spider-Man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're
The
just, and
goofy
that's what
face.
kind of made it lame a little bit with the Goblin character in the first Spider-Man. It's like, with that mask, you just see like the teeth moving. You couldn't really see the performance. But
No.
I really think that if it makes me kind of curious that if we were to go back to the first Spider-Man and him having to take that mask off, I'm curious to see how that would have maybe changed a little bit. You know what I mean? With all that, but I think that was the best thing, that they got rid of that mask. And I loved how it was like the damaged hoodie, the purple hoodie mixing with the green. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, like that looks so, it looks so sinister, man. Like, it looks so good. So I was like, man, that's the Goblin right there. That I like how they even improved the villain even better in this. Like, you know what? Like, let's change it up a little bit. Let's make him a little bit more darker, a little bit more damaged. And it really enhanced that performance, man. I thought that was perfect. I thought that was perfect, man. So I don't know.
Absolutely. Rob's in here says Goblin is strong because of the Goblin gas. Yes, that we know that
Yeah.
that's true. I just think, but Spidey's supposed to be still like on another level. Supposed to be quicker. Supposed to have the sense and all that. But Goblin gave him the hand, bro. Like he went
No,
down.
no, yeah, yeah. No, yeah.
Um,
Goblin and the comic books, Goblin always he was always a little bit stronger with all that. He just didn't have the Spidey sense. You know what I mean? But again, Spider-Man has to focus for that. You know, and at that time, I think Spider-Man was just surprised he was even getting his ass kicked by this older dude, man. He's like, man, whoa, whoa, whoa. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Will's in the chat says, "Love the brutality of the Goblin Spidey fights, dude." Yes, best fights in this movie are probably that first one between Goblin and Spidey, like hands
Hmm.
down. And he also says it was a crime to hide Defoe's face when you cast him as someone like the Green Goblin. Yeah, and then this
Yeah,
movie proved to us that Willem Dafoe can be more menacing without the mask than with the mask on. You know, you had a menacing mask, sure, in the original film with Toby, but his face is just as menacing. You don't need it, and that's a brilliant decision.
yeah. I,
Incredible.
I
Might
think
might
that
I? We've
I
all
definitely
seen
think that
the
was a good
interview
decision.
too with Willem and Alfred and Jamie Foxx. Kudos, major props to Willem because if you weren't sure, know that Willem did most of those fight sequences in the movie. He probably had a stunt for like, the really big stuff, obviously, but most of the fight sequences with Tom Holland was all Willem, and he pretty much said it when he agreed to do the movie. He says, "I'll do the movie, but we're going to do it my way, and I'm going to be doing some of the stunts, and I'm going to be acting my ass off, and you're going to make sure I have a solid story. I want to perform." It's something that Ernie Hudson said when I spoke to him last week. He said he still wants to have a role where he's asked to do a lot. He doesn't act just because it's fun. He wants to act because he wants to be challenged. He wants to step up to the plate. He wants to really go for it. And so I figured Willem, who's probably a little younger or maybe a little older than a guy like Ernie Hudson, probably said the same thing to himself. Like, I'll do it, but we're going to do it right. We're going to really take this character and elevate it. And you're going to have me doing a lot of these stunts and these fight scenes. And I'm sure he probably even had some things to change that kind of made it awesome and epic. So, yeah, freaking dug everything they did with Goblin. And it was awesome until they killed Aunt May.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't
uh,
even get to talk about William Defoe, but I was
go
gonna
for it. Go
just
for it.
mention that basically what's going on with him is he's an older guy. I mean, he has more experience in hand-to-hand combat. While he's not as strong as Spider-Man, he's always been able to hold his own because of the enhancements to his reflexes, strength,
Right.
and we also forget that he's a very intelligent individual himself, you know.
Mhm.
So you combine that all together and he's a deadly foe in his own right. And when you're looking at him and when he fights with Spider-Man, he uses strategy a lot. He kind of uses the environment that he has around him to attack Spider-Man because he tries to counteract some of his athletic abilities, you know, his reflexes and his strength by trying to keep his distance, hence the glider, the bombs, you know, and just his savagery, you know, when he's able to
Yeah.
get in there and get in close combat with them because Spider-Man does rely on his webs, you know. So again, the thing with the Goblin is getting close combat. You know, that's where we see him at his best. And look at what he did to, you know, Tom Holland Spider-Man. I mean, he just trashed the kid. And you know what? He's such a gifted uh, individual when it comes to hand combat. I bet he could hold his own against Captain America in his prime. He could
Ooh.
probably
Oh
go
yeah.
toe to toe with Cap with no problem, you know, because again, he's just a wild card. That's the thing is you just don't know with him, man, like what he's capable of doing or what's he gonna do next. I mean, he's just one of these guys, kind of like the Joker. Batman always like he couldn't figure him out because he would just go off the handle and do crazy shit just because I can. You know, so again, the Green Goblin, William Defoe's portrayal of the Green Goblin was just like top tier in this particular film. And it goes to show you just how gifted of an actor William Defoe is. I mean, he just did a brilliant performance and in full character, just saying, "Hey, I want to do my own stunts because I can, and I'm in full character, and I'm a professional." So it's like
Yeah.
he outstaged everybody, man. Even at his age, dude, it's like the guy's still killing it, man.
And you know
Absolutely.
what? I'm really glad that he decided to do it like that because I think if it wasn't for that, I think we would have had a lot more CGI fights. And I think
Yeah,
the fact that this wasn't, I mean, yeah, you had a little bit of CGI here and there, and they used it where they needed it. You know what I mean? Like I don't mind that, but like the brutality, that was like, I love that brutality was not CGI. You know what I mean? That's what I really liked about that, man. So I'm glad that Defoe was like, hey, none of that CGI. I'm gonna do it. Like we don't need that, and it's gonna be brutal, and it was. It really was. It was a good
it was
fight.
epic. Rob says that mask was trash. It was intimidating, but damn, just watching Defoe was badass. He also says, "How was that sunset flip powerbomb Spidey gave Green Goblin?" I think he's talking about the end of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude, yes, that was
Yes. I was
absolutely
like,
epic.
dang, dude, this is the freaking last ride his ass, dude.
Yeah,
I was like, what? I was like, dang, man, like I felt that. He was pretty mad, dude. I don't blame him.
dude.
It
Yeah.
was pretty
Uh,
bad.
Daniel says, "Well, he has to go harder on Holland, who is more experienced than Toby when he fought him." Yeah, definitely, definitely.
True.
And then this is the moment of the movie where we lose Aunt May. And Elliot, you probably remember we had a discussion
We called it.
a week ago, and
We
I
called
said
it.
we're in for a big loss. And
Mhm.
I think I lean more towards Toby. I did lean more towards Toby, and I said that would be the guy I'd pick for the story. I'm not telling you I want Toby to die in the movie. I'm just
Mhm.
telling you story wise that one hits the hardest. Second one that would have hit the hardest is actually Aunt May, and then I probably
Mhm.
would have put Happy somewhere down there. But no, dude, losing Aunt May, oh my god, like that's ballsy. That is bold. You got
That
some
was.
massive cojones to do that in a
Yeah.
Spider-Man film, dude.
Yes.
Dude,
I agree. I agree. I definitely I definitely thought it was going to be Michelle Jones. I thought it was going to be Michelle Jones,
you thought it'd
but
be okay.
but yeah, I kind of wasn't expecting Aunt May to go down like I was just like no, I didn't think it was going to be her, but yeah, I remember when she passed, I was like damn, Ted did call Aunt May, so yeah, and you know what, even better for the story, man, even
Yeah,
better for the story.
dude. Yeah,
I
because you
yeah.
have to have this Parker able
Mhm.
to like go full rage at the end of the movie,
Mhm.
which was one of the coolest things I've seen in a comic book movie is seeing a Spider-Man not pull his punches. We heard Andrew say that later
Mhm.
in the film, not pull his punches. Like I've never seen a Spider-Man punch like that. I've seen very few superheroes go that hard in a scene, and I freaking loved it. I absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dark and it's brutal, but just like BVS. Oh come on, guy. Hang on one second. Just like BVS, you want to see your heroes fall sometimes. You want to see your heroes sort of go down a dark path because the arc, the comeback is good to watch, is good to witness. And so
Yeah.
seeing
Yeah,
Parker at
you
the
got to
end,
deal with the spammer, Teddy. Come on, man.
I gotcha. Hang on.
Yeah, but I was gonna say too, I fully expected that something was gonna happen to Aunt May, that she would perish in one of these films because, as we've seen in the other Spidey films, usually they lose somebody close to them, and with Toby Maguire it was Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
With Andrew
Right.
Garfield it was Gwen Stacy. He almost saved her, but at the end he just couldn't. Even though he gave it his best try. And with Tom Holland, there was no Uncle Ben in this universe. It was just Aunt May. So from the very beginning, I kind of assumed at some point in time they were going to wind up killing her off. I was kind of surprised that it did
Come on,
happen
Joe. Come
in
on,
this
man. Come on.
particular film. No, I expected that was going to happen at some juncture. I just
For
never
sure.
expected that it was going to happen in this particular film. I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe they'll kill her off in another film or something. He's kind of surprised that they decided to do it in this particular film. It was very ballsy, but I wasn't surprised when it did occur, because you see all the other Spider-Mans, and when they have that loss, it makes them fully realize who they really are, you know?
Well,
And
this Parker's had a loss, and we talked about it last week. His
yeah, with
loss was Tony Stark,
Tony Stark, that was a mentor though. That wasn't
as was Ben.
Yeah, but I
But
didn't
Ben was
count that.
family though, man.
You know what I'm
Ben was
saying?
family, bro. Come on
I
now.
mean,
I'm just
I
saying.
mean, it's
I'm
a
just saying.
loss.
This is about this universe's Parker, and I'm sure that everything you didn't like, they fixed. So yeah, it's all good.
True.
Okay, so now we get to the drum roll, the best part of the film. Peter is really lost his way after May's death. He's on the run. Trigger happy cops took a shot at him, got him in the shoulder. They never really go back and talk about that. But yeah, that was like, dude, what shooting Spider Man? I can't remember that happening in a movie. And then Ned and MJ figure out they can use Doctor Strange's rings to conjure up a little portal, and they pull in none other than Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker as well as Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. I am not kidding you, gentlemen, when I say my opening night IMAX viewing, the crowd went absolutely apeshit. I could not hear anything because every single person in that film was cheering like their team just shot a three-pointer at the last second to win the championship. It was bedlam. It was pandemonium. It was incredible to see everybody just so damn happy. And appreciate because these writers, we gotta go and look up the writer now because Chris McKenna, Eric Summers. When you bring in these two characters and meet them for the first time, there's a couple of things that I wanted to see. And just like the first time Captain America met Thor, they sort of went at it. Um, and so you actually saw these two Parkers take a shot at each other, and they did some flips. I'm like, this is epic. Like, you didn't have to give us that, but you did, and I appreciate that. I love that stuff. So I'm just they did all the little things right. The big things, we know they got that right. They did all the little things right, and there's more that I'll talk about throughout this last two acts. But yeah, gentlemen, Elliot, we'll start with you, man. Um, I know you wanted to scream out loud. You really should have. But what was you knew this was coming, but what exactly were you feeling when you saw these two guys on screen?
Man, I was just so happy to see Andrew in Spider Man again, man. Like that, it was like such heartwarming just to see Andrew again. That's my favorite Spider Man. All right, Toby's in the better movies, but Andrew is the better Spider Man in my opinion. Like, hands down. And I mean, I can go all day with that, but yeah, I loved Andrew Garfield back in the whole Spider Man outfit and just joking around with the kids and all that. Yeah, it was really heartwarming. And then of course when Toby came up, I mean, yeah, like that was like a whole other different nostalgia too. I was like, oh man, like that's Toby, man. Like Toby came back, and I just love how wise he was in this movie. You know what I mean? Like just laid back, chill. No, we're gonna cure some ass. Like don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like he was just so laid back and just wise in this movie. Even when he I know we're getting a little hit on the X, but I'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, I just loved seeing them interact together. The little dialogues that they had. Oh man, it was just it was perfect,
Perfect.
man. It was
Perfect.
perfect. I honestly, and it's funny because I would have really never thought I'd actually see that. Like that is like I was like, dude, can you imagine if they're all Street Spider-Man would be in the movie together? You know what I mean? Like you couldn't imagine that 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, and then now seeing them all on one screen, interacting, doing their thing, I was just like, man, I was like that was just perfect, spot on for me. So I really did enjoy that scene. That was a very nice scene.
What about you, Joe?
Oh, I was, very excited to see both, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man from respectively Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man franchise
Right.
Hmm.
on screen. It was a culmination of what came before in order to make this particular film, No Way Home, so
True.
special. It's the culmination of what the OG set up, in the very beginning, and then it makes you kind of appreciate the other films too. The Amazing Spider-Man and its sequel, and
Hmm.
Andrew Garfield's Spidey
Sure.
even more. You see them all together on screen for the first time. Everybody's cheering, everybody's excited. It was pretty amazing, to see Andrew, of course, was introduced first, and then you get, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man as well. But I think another thing that we kind of forget too is Ned legit dude has some magic power in him, man,
It's
to
in
be
his
able to
family,
use.
bro. Yeah.
Yeah, like to
Yeah.
be able to use the sling ring, and he's like, "I don't know, but sometimes my hands get tingly." He's like, "My grandma says we're magic." But I think one of the things too, maybe a cool Easter egg, I don't know, but they made sure that they did show the swords that were on the wall of Ned's home. They glanced over there, so I wonder if there's some type of reference to that, as far as that being a family heirloom, or what's the significance of them actually showing that. They made sure that they panned in the house and they kind of zoomed in on that wall that had these swords on them.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And then they show Ned, of course, doing his little hand motion thing and opening up the portal to let Andrew Garfield in. And then he tries to open up another portal and he thinks it's going to open up in front of him, but it opens up behind him. And then we get Tobey Maguire coming out. And I thought that was funny too, seeing them both kind of like, well, who are you? Or who are you? And they're both shooting webs at each other, and they're like, oh. So, and then his grandma's like, can you all please clean up your mess,
Going to bed.
And then the funny part too is Zendaya, she's like, MJ, she's very not trusting. And she's like, well, prove to us you're Spider-Man.
Throwing
I
bread
don't
rolls
have
at
an
him. Yeah.
ID. Yeah, he's like, I don't have an ID or nothing. Well, you got to prove to me. So he jumps up and clings to the ceiling, and she's like, crawl across the ceiling. He's like, oh God. And then Ned's grandma's like, "Hey, can you get the cobweb in the corner?" That was a funny moment as well. He just goes over there and does that little thing and wipes the cobweb off. But really great to see all three of them there up on the screen, and you just know, like, wow, I took my son to go see Tobey Maguire when he came out as Spider-Man. So to my oldest, that's his Spider-Man, and then with my daughter, the Amazing Spider-Man with our Andrew Garfield, that's her Spider-Man. So this actually meant a lot to my kids, seeing all these guys together out up on the screen. My daughter actually cried when she saw them all on screen together at the same time. She was so happy and excited. And my son was getting emotional, my oldest one, because to them this is a really big deal. Something that I never thought I would.
Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, I was just excited, but they were just overcome with emotion because to them it's different. They actually cling, or have this thing where they have something in common with the plight of these characters, where they feel a certain thing, that kind of gravitates them towards these characters, so I understand why they get so emotional with them. They're fully invested in these characters, so it was quite emotional in my role with all my kids over here. Wow, look at what's going on, crying and tears of joy.
Let's see. Will says, not sure what the swords in the movie were, but it's kind of a common thing to see in a Filipino house. Wow.
Oh, there you
Interesting.
go, cool, man. Well, I
Interesting.
didn't know. Maybe they showed him because it had some type of significance, you know. So
Could be. And the
yeah,
magic in his family. I
yeah.
had I had two favorite quotes in this movie, maybe three. The first one was Max Dillon when he's talking to Sandman, and they're talking about how they got their evil powers, and and Max says,
Oh,
"Damn,
yeah.
got to be careful where you fall."
Yeah, he's like, "What happened to you?" "Oh, I fell in a vat of eels." And he's like, "What happened to
Yes.
you?" "Oh, I fell in the super collider." Man, got to be careful where you fall.
That was one of my favorites, and thank God they gave Jamie Foxx a lot to do in this film. But mostly his comedy stuff
Oh,
was
his
on
one of
point.
his best ones was when they finally get, subdue Electro. They kind of take the juice out of him, so to speak. And then he's just there and he goes, "Y'all just gonna stare at me like I'm not butt ass naked?" And then Spider-Man
That
goes
was
and
an
finds
epic
a
one.
fireman suit and gives it to him.
That was an epic one. Yeah. The other one that I had, the one that got the biggest laugh out of my theater was when they're in the lab and they fix everything and they come up with all these devices, and then Andrew looks over at Toby and says, "Are you gonna suit up? Or are you gonna go out looking like a cold youth pastor?" And everybody in my theater absolutely lost it. And then cool ass Toby was just like, pull it down. I already got it on. Don't worry about me, bro." Yeah, Elliot said something earlier about Toby's Spider-Man, sort of being the wise one, sort of being the big brother who knew everything. And you know
Yeah.
what? It played true to the character because these guys weren't taken from past moments. These guys were taken from their present moments because Toby clearly was the oldest and he had that seasoned look on him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And Andrew looked like he was a few, maybe 5, 6, 7 years away from the last time we saw him in a movie. So that kind of holds true as well. But the thing that I most loved was how they asked this story, this script, this script asked Andrew to really dive into some very emotional moments that his character experienced twice. The first one was on the rooftop talking to Tom Holland's Peter, and he's talking about how he lost Gwen and how he got dark and how he went into rage mode and stopped pulling his punches. And the look on his face, man, look on his face said it all. Andrew Garfield is one amazing actor. I there's one World War II film that I really like him in. That he was just incredible.
Oh, Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge, dude
Hacksaw
can act
Ridge.
his
I
ass
love
off.
that movie.
That movie is
Ah,
amazing.
I love that movie. Great movie.
And then the second moment where he has to really just put in this emotional thing was when MJ falls off or gets thrown off the ledge, the scaffolding, Statue of Liberty, the final moments of the film, and Holland goes after her, and we had kind of expected that a little bit, but he gets hit by the glider, and then Andrew goes after her, and they slowed it down, and he says no, and he dives headfirst down after her and catches her. And at the bottom, she looks at him. No, actually, he says it first. He says, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Yeah." And then the look on his face again says it all, man. It says it all. You don't have to say anything. The whole audience gets it. And then MJ looks back at him and says, "Are you okay?" And he's not, dude. But we all needed that moment. We all needed that moment to
Yeah.
see his Spider-Man
People were legit
get over
bawling
it.
in my
Get
theater
over
for
it.
that scene, man. Like they were
Yeah.
just like crying, dude. Like, he saved her this time. I looked over and my daughter was crying. She's like, "He saved her." I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah,
We needed him to have that moment. We
yeah.
absolutely did, and maybe it gives closure to that character in a weird sort of way. Even though we'll talk about it later for a minute, the big trend this weekend on social media was give Andrew his third film, and we can call it quits after that if you want, but everybody's asking for his third film. I love the camaraderie between these guys. I loved that in the final act, they couldn't. Their first time trying to work together, they stumbled, and it's sort of expected in a team up movie that you have three characters, or you just have a group of characters, a group of heroes who've never worked with each other to kind of stumble, step on each other's toes, make mistakes. And then they turn it around, regroup, reorganize, whatever. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, and that was also amazing. And then I could have used I could have just watched the movie all day of them running in the same shot,
Oh, I know.
jumping in the same shot, landing superhero landings in the same shot. Like that's enough for me. Like if that's all you give me, I don't give a shit. That's all I absolutely need. Them running through the scaffolding, like hollering. They're actually like hooting and hollering because for these characters it's fun. For them it's fun,
Yeah.
which just makes it fun for all of us. But they were
Yeah.
having fun, not the actors,
It
because
was the
it's
equivalent of the Avengers team up. This is the Spidey version of the Avengers. You know,
no, I disagree. The Avengers were all about business. Captain America never enjoyed
but I'm
going
saying the
out.
culmination of the heroes.
It
You
was
know,
his well, but what I'm trying to say is like they were having fun. They were flipping and twirling and they were cheering. They were like cheering each other on while they're doing it. And I mean, I guess the closest is kind of like the Ninja Turtles. Like maybe they kind of do it in that sort of way where they're like having fun while they're kicking ass. But yeah,
Hmm.
no, seeing Spider Men doing it was like a spiritual experience.
yeah,
Your
watching
guys'
it brought
thoughts on their camaraderie?
it brought back flashbacks when you seen all these three Spiders going up against the big bads. You know, the villains in the film. Kind of what happened with Spider-Man and the Civil War. You know, where you have this culmination of heroes going up against another culmination of heroes. Kind of had that vibe when they were gonna go in at it. You know, I was just enjoying it. You know, I just wanted to see where it was gonna go and what they were gonna do, and I liked it, man. I thought that was a dope scene. You know, everybody had
Yeah.
been waiting for that for quite some time now. So now seeing it up on screen for the first time and experiencing it, I was just gonna have fun with it, and wasn't disappointed. Let's put it like that.
I yeah, I'll just say it again. Like them having fun on screen helps the audience have fun. The best way to explain it is if you have two different bands, and I have experience. I'm a musician. If you have two bands have the exact same show. Like they play the same 10 songs on different nights with the same crowd or something. And one band's having fun and the other one's just playing the songs as they're supposed to. And there's no elevation or energy in anything they're doing. You as an audience goer are going to have more fun watching band number one that's having the energy, that's having all the fun on stage. You could see them having fun on their faces. So I kind of attribute it to that. I kind of like compare it to that. You just seeing heroes doing things and having fun on screen, like it just is a different type of experience. Batman's never having fun beating up people. Like you're not, you're not ever with him. Like yeah, get him,
I
Batman.
don't think
He's
Yeah.
Batman's
going
ever
for it all.
happy, dude.
Yeah, hit him, hit him. Anyways, Ellie, your thoughts, like what stuck out to you? What was your favorite moment when these three were together? Like, give us
You know what, man? There are so many good scenes in that. I
so
love the
many.
dialogue. Yeah, I love the dialogue right before they're about to fight. Um, I loved the dialogue with the villains. Like, hearing
Hmm.
like Andrew, like, "Hey, Max, I missed you, buddy," and like, like just Andrew with his quips, man. I loved Andrew as Spider-Man with his little quips, like, "Oh, hey, Dr. Connors," I love Andrew as Spider-Man. So just hearing him like with his quips, man, I was like, oh man, like I missed that. It was really refreshing. Even Toby, like, and you know what? And that's the thing. Like, I love the energy that Andrew brought was, like it was like fulfilling. Like, oh man, like I like like I really miss that. But when Toby would interact with his villains, like with Doc Ock or even with Sandman, his theme music would come on. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it actually took me back, man. Like because I remember, like, I think I saw Spider-Man my freshman year. You know what I mean? And this was shortly after 9/11. So like it had that, like, that patriotic, heroic, tone, when the original Spider-Man came out. And it
Yep.
was just nice to hear that hero theme from Danny Elfman again, when Sandman was already going back to normal, and the interaction with him and with Doc Ock, hey, how you doing? And he's like, I'm trying to do better. Like, just that heroic theme song was coming back on again. So I was like, that actually took me back, man. Like, I was like, oh man, like that was refreshing to hear as well. But yeah, I mean, but there was just so many good scenes, man. So many good scenes. Yeah, I just
Even
it was great.
even before the fight, and I'm completely forgetting about all these things. Even before
Mhm.
their fight, they're having all the small talk, and
Yeah.
Daniel calls it out perfectly. He's like, "Hey, do you get wet block?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I have this existential crisis thing going on, and yeah, performance issues and stuff." And then Tom Holland was like, "Does it come out of other places?" And it's all been joked about between fans, and so for him to say it is just epic. And then I know Elliot's favorite part is when Toby had to get his butt back popped by Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, and so that's hysterical. And just this small talk, I'm almost like upset or to the writers, and I just want to say, like, it was too easy. It was too easy to write this dialogue at this point because, like, it's so perfect, but it's they did everything right. They
Yeah.
did everything absolutely right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just
You
any little thing that you wanted to throw in there, like, it freaking worked. And
yeah, it's funny about that back
you
thing.
are
So
amazing. You
yeah,
say it. You are amazing.
I know, Toby just being enthusiastic as ever, man. Right? I know. I love. I miss good
I
old
don't
Toby, man. No, but what's funny about that back? I think we talked about this in Far From Home. How Tobey Maguire almost got replaced as Spider-Man because of his back, because he had a back injury when he was filming Seabiscuit, right?
Yeah.
So this was like after Spider-Man, he filmed Seabiscuit, and he really did have a back issue, and Sam Raimi almost replaced him with Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, Jake Gyllenhaal was scarily close to being Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2.
Wow.
But yeah, it was that close, that how close Jake Gyllenhaal was going to be a Spider-Man. And Toby, like, recovered. He's like, nah, dude, this is my Spider-Man role, and nobody's gonna take that away from me. So he came back, and that's where, like, he really did have like a back issue,
Yeah.
like that stunt where he falls, he's like, my back, and it cracks. Like, he really did he really did have back issues. So when he was like, when they're doing that whole back thing, he's like, I thought it was kind of like a nod, like, to his whole back issue that he had, and almost got replaced. So yeah, man, I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, just, yeah, man, just that synergy that they all had together. So, with all that being said, all right, even with all the interactions with the villain, the only gripe that I have with this entire movie is, well, obviously a little bit more screen time with Goblin and some of the Spider-Man, but Toby and the Goblin never interacted. That
Ooh.
that literally, like, that's why, to me, like, if you were gonna do ratings, this is why the rating gets like a 9 out of 10 for me. It's like, how did you guys not even incorporate like some kind of dialogue or nod with Toby and William Defoe? Nothing happened with that, and I think that's where I was like, to me, that kind of, I was like, so they're just not gonna acknowledge each other, they're not gonna say anything to each other, or what, So, but that's my biggest gripe with that,
I
is
think
that
the
there was
reason why
there was
they
no.
didn't have them on, like more dialogue between the two is the focus was more now with Tom Holland's Spider-Man
True.
Sure.
going up against the Green Goblin because of what he did with Aunt May. You
True.
know, but we
And
did have the redemption of one, uh, let's say, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Kind of holding up the glider before Tom Holland could finally, impale the
yeah,
Goblin with his own glider.
yeah,
He was trying to make him not go down that dark path, kind of holding it up. And the only interaction they really had is when the Goblin stabs, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. It's like,
yeah.
that's it.
But that's Goblin's Peter. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like that's like I understand like Tom Holland has a thing against that Goblin, but the
yeah,
Goblin has a thing against that Peter. You know
Yeah.
what
yeah.
I mean? Like there's history behind that. And the fact that they didn't acknowledge that, that's a missed opportunity to me. You
And
know what I mean? Like that's
Interesting.
the way I,
Yep.
you know?
and the thing is like there's like a little bit deeper of a meaning with that goblin because that goblin's also the father of Peter Parker, that the you know Tobey Maguire Spider-Man's
Yeah.
best friend, which was Harry Osborn. It's like there's some serious stuff going on there, but
Yes. And
they did a disservice and nothing.
not one thing of dialogue. That's
Yeah,
why I was like, I would have loved to hear what, like, at least a conversation, something
yeah.
like just like a quick interaction between the two, something,
Yeah, he could have
like
told him something dumb like, to really get at, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. How's MJ doing or something, because he almost
something,
killed her. It's like, yeah, I mean, really get at it.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was, yeah, that is the only real gripe that I have is like, how did you guys not put these two guys
Well,
in a scene together? It's
let's put
like
it like
Batman
this.
and Joker not having a scene together.
Yeah, let's
You
put it
know,
like this. In
like
that
it's like, how do you not do that? Like, what? They're just not gonna talk.
maybe it was a cutscene. We don't know. There's some scenes that didn't make it into the final film that might be in, let's say,
Hey,
an extended version of
if
it.
it didn't make it in the theater that I paid for, bro, it's a missed opportunity, man.
Mhm.
I
There
don't know.
was a scene that I did read that did not make it, and that was a scene with Tony Stark's daughter. She actually shot, or the actress shot a scene with Zendaya and Ned uh, in Doctor Strange's dungeon there, but it didn't make the final cut, so they
Yeah.
cut that out. And I was like, damn, I would have liked to see that too. So again, maybe there's something else that we didn't get to see that maybe they'll put in an extended cut. I mean, it can't be no like 4-hour movie like the Justice
Please.
League one. It's
Hey,
like,
Please.
bro, look, hey, bro, I really
yeah,
don't care about Stark's daughter, dude. I wanted to see
yeah,
Defoe and Spidey, man.
but I'm saying
I
there's
wanted
other.
to see what I came to see, bro, and that should have been in the movie. I
Yeah,
was
but I'm just
disappointed
saying
with
there's
that.
probably maybe there's some other scenes that got cut, Maybe
I
there was
hope
some dialogue there. Who knows?
we'll
We'll
see.
find. We'll find out. We'll find out. And I think it's a valid observation. I feel like all of the little things that they did include, like, just overshadow any one mistake. One mistake, even as big as no Toby and Willem discussion or like quick scene. We the dialogue between the Spider-Men, like all of those things were perfect. And yeah, I feel like that's just I'm gonna have to overlook that one thing. But I hear you. I hear you and I hear you and I have nothing to say about it. I feel like it's a valid observation.
So I'm
Um
hearing, okay, so his focus was beyond Toby. I don't think Goblin cared about Toby. His thing was more about worlds to conquer. I disagree with all that. I
and
disagree with all that.
Rob
Like,
also said this film could have easily been a two-part film. Yeah, pretty
true,
much.
and I do agree. I think it could have ended with like a very dark note, and then you know teasers the Spider-Mans are coming. To yeah, it could that could have been awesome. It could have been like an Infinity
Uh,
War. You know what I mean? Part one and
yeah.
part two, and Endgame. It would
What
have
if
The
been that
biggest
could have been
gripe with
what if
Goblin that he
that's
had
the
with Tom
final?
Holland was he said they don't need fixing. He's like, we don't need fixing. We don't need you, a kid, to come and fix me.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm perfectly fine the way I am. The Goblin's just chaos, dude. That's
yeah.
that's what he loves. He doesn't need to be fixed. And you wanting to fix him, well, he instantly hates you. It's like I don't need fixing,
Yeah.
especially from some stupid kid.
True.
It's all good. It's all good. We'll get into the final moments, the final act of this film, and then the final moments. So Parker, as I mentioned earlier, is going off on Norman Osborn and just beating the ever living snot out of him. And I love the way that it was doing it. You know what it reminds me of? I don't remember which Karate Kid it was. It might have been two, but there's one Karate Kid where Danny LaRusso was just like wailing on a guy, and he's just like left, right, back, forth, like just using all the energy that he has, and it felt a lot like that. Just seeing Parker just trying to murder Norman Osborn with his bare hands. Great drama, great story. Toby stopping him, Norman stabbing Toby, which again, I kind of thought they were going to do something like that, but they didn't pull the trigger on it, which makes you wonder if they're going to leave that open for another meeting between our Spider-Man, which would include Toby. I think that's probably one reason why you don't kill Toby, but I could easily see this being the last hurrah for the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Just he did what he did. He came in. He helped this Parker in this universe overcome this moment, and that heroic thing would have been amazing sacrifice for him to go out on. And Toby could have just been like, "All right, that was like the best way to go out, saving this universe as Spider-Man, and going from there." Very end of the film is Strange using the spell again. Everybody forgets who Parker is. Erased from history, pretty much, in the minds of everybody, including Doctor Strange. And when Parker has the moment where he can talk to his friends, MJ and Ned, and tell them everything all over again, he chooses not to, which I mentioned earlier is probably the biggest Spider Man thing we've ever seen in a movie. Parker sacrificing his friends, his love, his family, just so that they could be protected. It's not a selfish move in any way. He's doing it so that they're going to be okay, and he's not a burden to them or a danger to them like he has been. It is truly like the most epic decision I've seen in any Spider-Man film.
Mhm.
Robert says hashtag best Spidey Tom Holland,
No,
and he also says hashtag best Spidey film ever.
no.
Let's get into our Geekcast rating, and then you gentlemen can tell me exactly who you think the best Spider-Man is, either in this movie or just in general across all the movies. Who you think that might be? Joe, you want to start, man?
Yeah, I mean, I always was partial to, Toby Maguire because I was able to share that Spider-Man or that version of Spider-Man with my son when he was a kid. So there's always a special connection there. Being able to kind of pass the torch of my love for superheroes and my love for Spider-Man
Yeah.
over to my son, So I always kind of thought that Tobey Maguire actually did a really decent job of portraying Spider-Man up there on the big screen. I thought Andrew Garfield in his own right did great as the Amazing Spider-Man, but he's going to be third compared to Tobey Maguire. I would put Tom Holland as second, Andrew Garfield is third, but I think they all did a decent enough job portraying Spidey. As far as the overall film itself, I thought it was a great film. I thought it was one of the better Spidey films that I've ever seen. I still think the OG, to me, the best Spider-Man movie was going to be the one with Doc Ock. Man, you got to go with Tobey Maguire going against Doc Ock. I thought that was a masterpiece. Hard to overcome that one, but this one is up there as well. Did a great job. A lot of fan service, but it's a culmination of these other films that came before it that led up to this one being so great. So everything coming together at the right time during this pandemic that we've been dealing with, getting people to come back into the theater and be able to share the experience. To me, it just gets a solid. Are we going to go ahead and rate it at 5 stars, or how are we going to do this?
However you want. It's 1 to 5. What's your
Okay,
rating?
I'll give it a solid 5. I thought it did everything that you could possibly imagine out of a Spidey film with everything, the villains and all these Spideys, and there was a lot going on with this film. I
Yeah.
kind of expected it to not be able to deliver on all fronts, but I mean, they did a really good job in being able to, really keep the story together and at the same time deliver everything that was promised to the fans. So, five, man, five stars is what I'm giving it.
Oh my
Rob
god.
also agrees with you. Rob also dropped the 5. Ellie, to go to you next, man. What is your Geekcast rating, and who is the best Spider-Man?
It's a 4 out of 5 for me. Okay,
Nice.
it's a 4 out of 5 only because Goblin and Toby never had a scene. That I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
That is going to be a pet peeve to me. How the hell they did not incorporate that? I do not understand. But hey, it was a good film. Um, as far as the best Spider-Man movie is going to be
No,
Spider-Man 2.
no, I
No,
didn't say
yeah,
movie. Who's the
okay.
best Spider-Man?
Oh, the best Spider-Man is going to be Andrew. All right, I already know who the worst one is for me. It's going to be Toby all day. Or I'm sorry, it's going to
No,
be Tom all
Ah!
day. It's going to be Tom all
dope.
day. No, 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 no. It's going to be Tom all day. All right. For those who don't know, I cannot stand Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Mm.
He just does not portray Spider-Man to me in any way, shape, or form. He never did. He just never did. I'm sorry. This whole hey, Mr. Stark, like I just could
I
not
don't feel
stand
so
it for the couple of films that he was in. Even after Stark died, he was still all over his nuts, and I still couldn't stand it.
oh my god.
This movie, it was he, and this movie, the only I will give Tom this. I will give Tom this. The ending of this movie, for me to say that I'm actually now looking forward to where Tom takes his character because of the ending. I'm actually looking forward to it. I was never looking forward to Tom movies. I hated Homecoming. No Way Far From Home was all right, and I only liked it really because of Mysterio. But I mean, yeah, I just can't stand Tom Holland as Spider Man. He's
Man, come
annoying.
on. You're not gonna give the spider monkey no love, dude.
No, no, absolutely not. Absolutely horrible, horrible. Like it's such a bastardization of the character, man. I can't stand all that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, no.
Awesome.
They're making Tom Holland is just this Disney Mickey Mouse, you know, creation that I just could
Hang on.
not stand seeing
I
on
kind
screen.
of agree
Hold
with
on.
him
Hold
to a
on.
certain degree because you look at the other films that came before it,
He's
and they
he's
were a
right
little
or
bit
he's
darker.
wrong.
They were a little bit darker. The Disney one kind of played it safe,
Yes,
too
Well,
safe
no,
in a
no,
way.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll
There
tell
was
you.
no stakes. There was no stakes in any of the movies. I can't even remember Homecoming. That's how like it's just a blimp in my memory of Homecoming. And that had Michael Keaton in it. That had Michael
It
like
was
missed
not.
opportunity. that
It
had
was
Michael
great.
Keaton in
It
it.
was great.
And yet I still don't remember it. I still am like,
Um, uh,
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Man, I think
Eh.
Rob is living through ULID, man, right now,
Look at
man.
that. I respect your score, but hey, there you go. You know what? Sounds about right. Sit on it and twirl, dude. But anyways, but all I'm gonna say is that yeah, hey, Andrew Garfield for me will be my favorite Spider-Man. Toby's obviously the goat. I get it. Hey, Toby he had the better movies, man. He had Raimi on his side, and Raimi definitely respected the source material. And I mean, it's enough said with the Raven Spider-Mans, dude.
Yeah. I
But
like
the
Garfield though because, like you said, he had a lot of the puns. He had the
yes,
characterization down, the
Uh,
vocalizations of what Spider.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
When Andrew is Spider-Man, that is Spider-Man. Like the puns, the
The
like, hey,
smart ass.
what's up? That is
Yeah.
Spider-Man. That is Spider-Man. Toby he made a great Peter Parker. Toby made a
Yeah.
great Peter Parker. Tom Holland, I'm still trying to figure out what he is. You
Well,
know,
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to
Iron
tell you
Boy.
right now. I'm
Iron
going to tell
Boy.
you. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to get to my
Yeah.
rating.
I'm gonna
My
tell you why
rating.
you're wrong and I'm
My
I
right.
know, I know
No, no,
that.
no,
Not
no.
kid.
I said Elliot is right, and but he's actually. I'm going to tell
But
you
he's
exactly
actually
why
wrong.
you're. I'm going to tell you exactly why you're right, and you pretty much. We already talked about this, but you pretty much gave Marvel all of their points that they need to hit, and so we'll get into that. My rating is a 5. You had a big story. You had a ton of characters. You gave everybody a spotlight to shine. They killed it. the dialogue, the comedy, the fight sequences, everything was like above par, epic, awesome. It's a 5. Overall Geekcast scores are 4.75. And
Mm.
Eliud, you've been the biggest critic of Spider-Man, and you have the most reasons to hate Spider-Man, and all your reasons have always been because this has never been the Spider-Man from the comics. Homecoming, Far From Home, it's never been Spider-Man.
Trash.
So when I watched this movie, when I watched Far From Home, the thing that really popped into my mind was, you know what this trilogy was? It was an origin story. He wasn't Spider-Man in the first one. He wasn't Spider-Man in the second one. He's now Spider-Man by the end of this movie. And
Hmm.
if you see it like that, when you see this entire trilogy as just the beginning, not his hero arc, not his hero story, but this is just the beginning of Spider-Man, the dawn of Spider-Man. It puts into a whole different perspective. And I know you do love and appreciate, and like you said, you're looking forward to what comes next, and that's because your Spider-Man from the comics has now been born, and it
Yes.
took all of these moments, it took all of this loss, this tragedy, this experience just to get to this point.
Hmm.
And now you can actually have a Spider-Man that you are really excited about seeing going forward.
I am.
Tom Holland is my he's probably not my he's not my well, Tom Holland is my favorite right now because of the decisions he's had to do. The decisions that he's put forth, and no one's ever had to do anything like that before. Like Andrew kind of had the option to like leave Gwen after the first one and like keep her safe and all that, and he was just like, "Nah, bro, I'm going to keep her around, man." Even after her dad died, and like he promises dying dad, her dying
The
dad.
heart
Like,
wants
okay,
what the heart wants, Ted.
I get it,
Mhm.
but this Tom Holland's Parker, he's willing to let that go to keep her safe, and that's a decision that you can't overlook. That is like a huge moment in cinema, seeing your hero make that type of sacrifice. Absolutely love it. Real
There's
quick,
something we have to talk about real quick too.
no,
One thing
we
that
don't
we've
got a
not
lot of time. I promise, we don't got a lot of time. Hang on. Robert says Elliot's brain is a blip. Will says, "Oof, completely forgetting that amazing car scene with Tom Holland and Michael Keaton. Yes, that was awesome." Rob also says, "I've said it from the beginning. These films were intended to show the character's growth. All films are supposed to show the growth, but I really do think like this trilogy is just the origin of Spider-Man." Joe, you
You know
got
what,
30
Rob?
seconds.
You know what, Rob? I'm so disappointed you're not on this thing because I got so much to say to that comment, but we're short on time. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
Spidey,
essentially what this does is it brings
Spidey
the,
Debate
the
2 coming
series
soon.
to a reboot. It reboots the Tom Holland Spideyverse. You know, by now, right now at this point, he can pretty much they can pretty much go in any direction. And I thought it was a really nice nod of him not having any of the technology, any of the Stark tech, just him being him, starting from ground zero again, and he's going to make Spider-Man what he thinks it needs to be at this point. And the nod to the OG suit, really good, man. I was digging the suit. Really loved it.
Ooh,
And also
yes,
we
that
did
suit.
see a little Easter egg. I did see Craven in the sky. So that was
Craven. I thought I saw Gwen
Scorpion.
Stacy, Spider Gwen in one of them. Shoot,
Saw Scorpion in there. You saw the Rhino.
Scorpion and Rhino, and
Yeah,
not um, Amazing Spider-Man Rhino, but actually real like
Rhino.
Rhino from the comics
Yeah.
was there too in the Broken Sky, yeah, and all that good stuff. Hey, listen, this has been a great episode. I need to thank everybody for in the chat: Will, Rob, Daniel, Adriel. If I forgot your name, I apologize. Matt, Joe, Noe, Derek, everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. Thank you for joining us. Great Spidey Debate 2 coming soon. I don't know when, but coming soon. On one side, Elliot. On the other side, Rob, battling head to head, arguing over who's the greatest Spider Man. That is coming very soon, shortly.
Spoiler
Thank
alert, it's not Tom.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Follow the Geekcast. We have amazing content right now, both on Facebook and YouTube, and it's been an absolute blast this month and this year, we've had more downloads in this year than we have in our first like years and that we've been doing this. This is like our 6th year that we've been doing this. So we absolutely love and appreciate everybody for downloading the episodes, for commenting, for watching the videos, and more fun definitely is coming. For the Geekcast, my name is Steady. With me on this episode is the man behind the magic, the one and only Joe Garcia.
Yeah, thanks for listening to our Spidey debate here, our review of Spider-Man. We greatly appreciate everybody's support. Thank you to Elude, or I don't know how to say his name right. Am I saying it right? Elude?
Eliud. Yeah, you
Elude.
got it.
Okay, Elude for joining us for this discussion. Really nice talking with you. So make sure you also like, subscribe, and share all our great content. We love you guys. Appreciate y'all. You have a good holiday season. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Last but not least, our guest of honor, one of the biggest Spider-Man fans I know, LU 2099, sir. Thank you for joining, man.
Hey, man, thank you all again. Joe, it's nice meeting you. Ted, thank you for always letting me come on your show, man. I love how you've just grown so much with this podcast stuff, man. So I always appreciate you having me on here, man. So thank you again. And future debates, man. Future stuff coming, and it's gonna be good stuff. But
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. We will talk to you soon. Have a great night. Have a wonderful holiday and spend it with your family. Be careful out there. And man, what a time to be a geek.
I know, good stuff.